Hey y'all, Mac here. I'm giving a second update for this build, but I'm going to be kind of condensing it because the build mechanics still revolve around the same scaling, and the only real changes are some of the gears, some of the skills, as well as a couple nodes on the tree, but the tree is pretty much the same. So just really quickly, the Sire Shards is still what we're using. I got myself 2+1 all spells, which totaled, I think it was like around 4 div for both. This is just a big damage boost, and it beats out crit chance. If your crit is too low, you can also put percent crit. You can get, I think it's 48% increased critical strike hit chance on your staff if you decide to take the cheaper runes, and that can be a really good alternative to get your crit a little bit higher. I changed some more gear just to get crit on a couple pieces, specifically helmet and amulet. Amulet is spirit as well as the body armor, and I got +3 on this with a little bit of crit as well, and an Abyss mod for more ES. That's honestly not that great of a mod. I'm thinking of re-rolling it. The mana here is also kind of unfortunate. I'd rather have life, but it is what it is. And now, as you can see, we are pretty much crit capped, 0.1% off. Besides that, I'm just getting some reses, a little bit of chaos here and there if I can, to cap the crit. And Snake Pit, as well as Seed, remains the same. Because Abyss and some of the Deli maps now are extremely dense, I'm moving Snake Pit over to Fork, which is going to do a lot better in these denser maps. If you're doing maps that are less dense, then Chain's probably going to be a little bit more consistent compared to Fork. For the body armor, because we're taking that node again, for the ES to life conversion, you want to be running a high ES. If you need Spirit and you need it for Blink, then also get Spirit on here. Otherwise, try to get close to a 1k ES body armor. The actual alternative here is to take out Crimson Power and to spec into Gore Spike for a little bit more damage. Notice also I swapped out of Gore Spike, and I'll go over that in a second. But yeah, as far as gear goes, that's about it. I did manage to snag a Rite of Passage. I got the Serpent one. So this is just going to give us 80% increased damage as well as some poison. The poison on the fireballs that are going out pretty far can sometimes kill some of the white mob packs, which is pretty nice. But the only real reason I got this was because of the 80% increased damage and the fact that it has really good uptime throughout the map. Your better alternative here is probably to get a stag or a cat, and those are going to give you move speed as well as 30% skill speed and a couple other bonuses. Wolf is also move speed and skill speed, and that can be a good alternative, and I believe is a little bit cheaper than the other two. But as far as gear goes, that's about it. Let's look at some of the changes to the skills that I made. So the big thing with the skills is Ember Fusillade, still running the 2 Restoration setups with Fire Mastery and Considered Casting. If your damage isn't high enough, take out one of these and make sure you're at least at 0.57. That is a relatively comfortable hang time for these. If you're seeing this right now, this is about how long they last. So if that looks comfortable, then 0.57 is fine. At 0.4, they're a little bit faster to go out, which is kind of nice. The biggest change here is I'm running Louis Bloodletting. This is unfortunately now around 3 div last time I checked. And what it does is it basically gives you life cap on the skill, or blood magic, however you'd like to call it. And it gives you extra damage based on the life cost. My life cost is pretty low because I'm not running a plus levels wand and focus. But what you can do is if you have enough currency, you can buy Wrath Pith and run a +3 wand, and that'll get this cost up a little bit higher and give you a lot more damage from it. You can also just run a +2 or +3 focus, and that should do the same thing. You can see that it boosts my damage by quite a bit. It's about 50% more damage. So yeah, very strong lineage support. Cast on crit's still the exact same. Fireball with Sione's Temper. What's changed here is we're running Mana Remnants now to sustain our mana. The only thing that costs mana now is the Cast on Crit Fireball, but we still on bosses. So Mana Remnants helps us basically sustain on bosses, and since we're running Leech on our tree now, Ember Fusillade can self-sustain. And I'll get into a little bit more of the other mechanics. Snap, again, is just a self-cast on tankier rares or bosses to consume the ignite on the target and give us a bunch of fire infusions. Now, some of the major changes I made on the tree specifically, everything is about the same except for some of these remnant nodes. I'm taking the recover life because I have more levels, and most of my sustain comes from picking up remnants and a little bit of leeching. I managed to also find this jewel which gives double crit as well as instant leech, and that instant leech is playing into the new notable that I subbed Gore Spike out for, which is Vitality Siphon. This is going to help us just sustain our Ember Fusillade, which now has a higher life cost from the Bloodletting lineage support. Overall, I think the setup feels a lot better, and it is perfectly strong enough and capable for these maps, which are, 5 mod, 27% Deli T15s. And I'm doing these with, I'm doing Ritual as well as Breach with these, and I'm only dying occasionally to some of the nasty Abyss, as well as to frame drops from the Abyss. So, as far as tankiness goes, I think the build can definitely benefit from a lot more upgrades in that department. Damage-wise, I'm kind of capped, soft-capped by using Sire of Shards, but I just don't see how Wrath Pit and a Wand is going to feel better than just getting 5 additional proj on its own. Wild Shards can obviously, like Siones, can make up for the loss of proges, and it feels relatively comfortable, but the clear just isn't there with Fireball then. So I really, really enjoy playing with Sire. I might change this as I keep upgrading the build to do the Pinnacle bosses, but we'll see where that takes us. This build is 100%, I am very confident that it is capable of taking on all the endgame content. I think it can scale very well, especially because Blood Mage and crit scaling is just, it has a very high ceiling. And besides that, I want to just go over a couple alternatives, as well as give a point out to someone else who's playing the build. So first off, Captain Lance made a couple videos on it, I just recently found out, and his version is a little bit higher life, definitely tankier than mine, and he's running a wand with a focus setup, as well as Defiance of Destiny. So, what does Defiance of Destiny do? If you go take a look at it, it basically recovers life before you take a hit. So against many small hits that aren't one-shots, which Blood Mage tends to do really well against anyways, and with the large life pool Blood Mage has, getting one-shots also relatively rare. So those small hits basically just cannot kill you. With Defiance of Destiny, plus a large life pool, like close to 5k life, you are practically immortal on Blood Mage. There's a couple things that can obviously kill you, like degens and really big like boss slams, but besides that, it's going to feel really comfortable. You do miss out on the Spirit and the +3 if you do decide to run that, so do kind of consider that, and it is also very expensive, about the same price as a Snake Pit, maybe slightly less expensive. So again, his variation, I believe, also doesn't run Snake Pit. He just runs Fork on Ember Fusillade, so if you are looking for a more budget option, maybe his is better to consider than mine, which is, at this point, only going to keep going up in value as I put more investment into the build. This is how I tend to do things with my builds, is I just scale up the power, and a lot of the times that comes with the territory of spending a pretty decent amount of currency on it. That being said, again, the build is kind of at a soft cap where it's comfortable doing these maps, and this is all I really need to do to make a lot of currency. And this is also where my main strategies are, so I'm pretty happy with where the build is. I'll do a full build showcase as well as go over a lot of the other potential alternative gearing, as well as maybe how to progress it and level it if someone is like re-rolling. I'll try to get that video out when I am able to, but I won't have a lot of time to be making consistent updates to the build just because of med school and all that. So